Welcome to the third example of solving a two-step equation with fractions. In this video, we'll be solving the equation by first clearing the fractions from the equation and then solving for x. However, there is another video that shows how to solve this equation in its current form, working with the fractions, solved just like any other two-step equation. But because we want to clear the fractions from the equation this time, let's review our steps. The first step, which is optional, we're going to build fractions that have the same least common denominator, and I'll show why this step is optional when we solve our equation. Next, we're going to multiply each fraction by the common denominator to clear the fractions from the equation. Then we'll solve the equation by adding or subtracting to isolate the variable term, and then multiply or divide to solve for the variable. So going back to our equation, we want to find the least common denominator when our denominators are 3, 5, and 6. Well, the least common denominator would be the least common multiple of 3, 5, and 6, or the smallest number that's divisible by 3, 5, and 6. One way to determine this value is to look at the multiples of 3, 5, and 6, and notice that the smallest number they have in common is 30. So 30 will be our least common denominator. But if you struggle finding the least common denominator, I'm going to show a way that we can build the LCD by looking at the prime factors of the denominator. So for this first fraction, since 3 is prime, we'll leave it as 2/3. For the second fraction, instead of writing minus 4/5 x, this would be the same as minus 4x over 5, and 5 is prime. So we'll have minus 4x over 5 equals 1/6, where the prime factorization of 6 would be 2 times 3. So if we write the denominators in prime factored form, now we can build the least common denominator by making sure all the denominators contain the same prime factors. For example, notice this first fraction of 2/3, the denominator does not have a factor of 5 or a factor of 2, which means we're going to multiply both the top and bottom by a factor of 5 and a factor of 2. Notice that 3 times 2 times 5 is 30, our LCD. Looking at the second fraction, notice how it does not contain a factor of 2 or 3 in the denominator, so we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by a factor of 2 and a factor of 3. And then for the last fraction here, notice how it does not contain a factor of 5, so we'll multiply the top and bottom by 5. So we've just built the least common denominator by making sure the denominators all contain the same prime factors. So notice now this would be 2 times 2 times 5, that's 20. So we have 20/30ths. And then we have minus, this would be 4x times 2 times 3. Well, 4 times 2 times 3 is 24. So we have minus 24x over 30 equals, on the right side, this would be 5 over 30. And now to clear the fractions, we're going to multiply each fraction by the LCD, which would be 30, or 30 over 1. So times 30 over 1, times 30 over 1, and times 30 over 1. Notice in each product, we have a factor of 30 over 30 that simplifies to 1. That's 1, that's 1, and that's 1. All the denominators are now 1, therefore the resulting equation would just be 20 minus 24x equals 5. Notice what's happened here is, since all the denominators are equal to 30, that means the solution would be when the numerators are equal to each other. Now I do want to emphasize that we don't have to go through all this work unless we have a hard time struggling to find the LCD. If we can look at this original equation and determine that the least common denominator would be 30, the other option is to multiply each fraction in the original equation by 30. Let's go ahead and show that the result of doing that would be the same as what we did. So we can start with 2/3 minus 4x over 5, or 4/5 x, equals 1/6. And in this form, multiply by 30 over 1, and the result will be the same. Go ahead and verify that. Now if we do it this way, we do have to simplify each product before multiplying. Notice that 3 and 30 share a common factor of 3. There's 1, 3, and 3, and 10 3s and 30. common factor of 5 between 5 and 30, 1, 5, and 5, and 6 5s and 30. 6 and 30 share a common factor of 6, 1 6 and 6, and 5 6s and 30. All the denominators again are 1. So now if we multiply, we just have 20 minus, this would be 24x, equals 5. So notice that this equation and this equation are the same. But I actually like this method a little bit better because we're so used to obtaining common denominators when adding and subtracting fractions, so we can just use that to find the LCD and then clear the fractions by multiplying by the LCD. So now we'll go ahead and solve this two-step equation. So this is a positive 20, so the next step we will subtract 20 on both sides. This will isolate the variable term. This would be 0. We'd have negative 24x equals 5 minus 20 is negative 15. Last step, we'll divide both sides by negative 24 to solve for x. So we have x equals, a negative divided by a negative is positive, so this is equal to positive 15 24ths. But they do share a common factor of 3, so if we divide them both by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is equal to 8. So our solution is x equals 5/8. The first time we solved this equation, we did check to make sure that 5/8 was correct, so we're not going to go ahead and do that again. But if you didn't watch the other video, you may want to. If we substitute 5/8 for x, it will satisfy this equation. I hope you found this helpful.